And hello, car lovers, and welcome to the CNC Auto Show. I am Aaron Clements.
I'm John Ryan.
And our goal today is to give you information that will make your car, truck, or SUV safer, to make it more dependable, and to make it last longer for less money and also less hassle. We are here to take your phone calls, and you can call at 706-863-5800, and that's on Saturday mornings, 8:05 to 10 Eastern. That, again, is 706-863-5800. We look forward to those calls. You can also watch us live on Facebook, and that's at CNC Auto Show. You can watch past shows on YouTube, on our YouTube channel. And the channel is also CNC Auto Show, and that's C and then the ampersand or the and sign and C Show. And if you're looking for a good, dependable auto repair facility, we can help you with that question right away. Just go to NapaAutoCare.com, and you can go up to the little search area right there at the top. You can type in where you're at, either where you live, or if you're out on the road and need assistance in an emergency type situation, you can put the city that you're in, and you will see a list of fantastic repair facilities. And again, that's NapaAutoCare.com. John Ryan, are we ready to fire it up?
Yeah, let's do it.
All right. Whoa! Man, that baby sounds good.
That's pretty tough.
Oh, man, that sounds like a good sounding truck. We got a surprise this morning.
Yeah, we do. I'm
excited. This is a different show for several reasons. We're going to have a lot of fun today.
That's right.
To start with, this is open phones.
That's right.
We are going to talk about anything and everything as long as it pertains to something with an engine.
There you go.
And the reason we want to do this...
I was hoping you'd clarify that.
Oh, we will. Yeah, it has to do with an engine, absolutely. We don't handle any of the other stuff.
Right.
But if it's got an engine, we can deal with it. And that includes new cars, old cars, classic cars, airplanes, boats, ATVs, anything with an engine. And the reason I say that, John Ryan, there's no doubt in my mind you have ATVs.
I do, yep.
Yeah, matter of fact, you got a pretty nice Razor, if I'm not mistaken.
Yeah, I really enjoy it.
Okay, and I have, and I'm starting to work a little bit with some of the antique cars.
Yep.
I've also...
Well, you're kind of getting antique, too.
Yeah, and I've also... that was cool. I've also had an airplane. I don't fly now.
Yep.
But I've had airplanes.
Luckily.
And I've had... flown a lot,
Yep,
did a lot of flying, and enjoyed all
for a
that.
while.
So, and worked on airplanes at one time.
Right.
And so we may not have the answer, but we will come up with something.
Yeah, we'll make
either
something
way.
up.
Yeah, we'll make something up if we have to, but we will give you some guidance on what to do. Okay, now we have a tech tip quiz, but there's something that is more important.
Yeah,
than
but
a tech tip
they
quiz.
could have a chance at winning it, though.
Well, you do have a point.
Just read through it real quick.
Okay, we'll go ahead and lay the tech tip quiz, and we'll mention first that the prize package includes a hat or a coffee mug, but also it includes the world famous I Answered, or at least locally.
Yeah, maybe
the
it's stretched a
CNC
little
Auto
bit.
Show Tech Tip Quiz golf shirt. And here is the question that we have. Susan was getting gas, and she went into the store, and she bought something in the store, and it cost her $1.52. She come out. She installed this herself.
Okay.
It took a little time. Well, not long, but she installed it. And by the end of this year, it will have saved her at least $100. I'm going to say probably a lot more than that. So if you know the answer to that, you can give us a call with that also. And John Ryan, where or who are we going to be talking to?
All right, and we're going to go straight to Ed.
Hey, wait, John Ryan. I got a mental picture.
What kind of cars do you drive here?
A 2013 Toyota, and he's got an oil leak.
Man, you tried pretty hard for that one. I hope
Yeah, I
you're
did. Right. Ed, am I right?
Yeah.
That just means you paid him to call. What's going on with your Toyota, Ed?
All right, Ed, what can we help with?
All right. Can you hear me?
Yeah, we hear you
we
great.
can hear you good. You right in there.
Yeah. Yeah. Toyota Tundra a year ago had an oil pan leak. Now it's got a timing chain cover oil leak.
Ed, what engine's in
like
this
I said,
one?
2013 4.6.
Yeah, 4.6. They did, unfortunately, exhibit some of the oil leak issues on those. Toyota's been doing this for several years. Of course, they use an RTV sealant. They very seldomly have gaskets in oil, basically oil mating surfaces, whether it be the pan, the timing cover. The one that kind of did stick with the rubber gasket is the oil, valve covers. So unfortunately, those particular engines, did have some oil leaks. It's not uncommon to have the oil pan one. By far, that's kind of the number one common one. One thing that I would urge you to get checked, or you check it yourself, is the PCV system. It kind of regulates the crankcase pressures inside the engine, and if that valve is stuck for some reason, whether it be stuck open, closed, and it's not pulling those vapors out, it can actually create pressure inside the crankcase, and potentially blow out some of those gaskets. So roughly how many miles are on it?
50,000.
50,000.
Wow.
No doubt they last a lot longer, as far as the PCV valve, but I would still definitely have that system inspected, because I'd hate for you to, keep having these oil leak problems and find out it's a relatively inexpensive PCV valve.
And Ed, when they check that PCV system, the PCV system is a lot more than just a valve. It has to. Think of the theory of it has to pull fresh air from somewhere.
That's right.
Usually it's filtered air from somewhere in the air breather box.
Mm-hmm.
It has to pull it through the engine and through the valve cover, and it has to pull the vapors out of the engine, and then it has to pull it into the valve. So if anywhere along that process is stopped up, then it can create a problem. And the reason I say that is so many people say PCV system, and they think, well, I put a new valve in there, so I'm good.
Right.
But you actually need to
I
check.
gotcha.
Yeah, you have to check the system and make sure that it can flow that complete distance.
And that's a good point, because some of the older model Toyota Corollas and Camrys and stuff like that, now this was with a lot more mileage, of course, but the actual baffle where the PCV valve is installed would actually be restricted by just basically oil.
Yeah, Chevrolet truck.
Yeah,
the
and
valve cover would stop up in there.
Yeah, and cause some issues.
Okay.
So, just like Aaron said, you want to be very thorough with that system, not just assume the valve itself is bad.
Mm-hmm.
Yes, sir. Okay. Well, thank you very much.
All right. We appreciate it,
Fantastic question, Ed. Thank you. John Ryan, who will we talk to?
And we got about 3 minutes before a break. Let's try and get
what
Tim.
we can do, we'll talk to Tim, and if for some reason we don't finish with Tim, we'll put Tim on hold if you don't mind.
Fair enough.
I think that's a deal. Hey, Tim.
Hey.
I'm going to let John Ryan guess what your problem is today. John Ryan, can you do it?
Oh, I don't know,
Come
Aaron.
on, John Ryan. Try it.
Can I pick on him a little bit?
Yeah, you can do that.
Most people call about Fords.
Ford, all right.
So,
Tim,
sorry,
that hurt,
Tim, that
man.
kind of stung. Maybe a F-150.
Oh, Tim, is he right?
Yeah.
Oh, wow.
You sound disappointed. What's going on with it, Tim?
Okay, well, it's low idle. It chatters. It's the 5.4. It's not an EcoBoost motor,
Right.
but it chatters, and then sometimes and everything it'll get like a low idle condition where it almost acts like it's gonna
Shut off
idle
on you?
off.
Right.
Right, and I've done some, YouTubing and whatnot,
Right.
and they seem to think, or I've kind of diagnosed it as a bad cam phase
Okay.
or phasers.
Right.
And I was wondering if you could explain how that works, and
Sure. Okay.
Okay.
Well, you're on the right track. However, there's a lot of steps before that, mainly because the cost involved and the labor involved in that cam phaser job. You are correct that the cam phasers can cause that issue. Basically, how that system works, it has variable valve timing. And actually, Aaron, we're about to be out of time.
Yeah, we are.
Tim, if it's okay, we'll put you on hold, and we'll talk about that as soon as we come back from the break.
That's great.
All right.
Yeah, we're going to take a real quick break. Now, one thing I do want to mention that we will have after the break also, we'll be answering Tim's question. We'll be going to John, but we'll have somebody here to help us answer those questions. And this is huge now.
It is.
Kevin Koszala, he will be here with us. He drives a monster truck with the Traxxas Monster Truck Destruction Tour. He'll be with us to help us answer questions, and he'll tell us a little bit about driving monster trucks. All after this. And welcome back to the CNC Auto Show. And we have a special guest with us who will be helping to answer questions in the beginning. And then shortly after that, he's going to tell us a little bit about himself. He's going to tell us a little bit about what he does, which I'm going to go ahead and give a hint on that. He drives monster trucks. This is Kevin Koszala. And Kevin, hello there.
Hi, how you doing?
Welcome to the CNC Auto Show.
Thank you.
All right, now we're going to be talking in just a little bit, but in the meantime, we have a thing here at the show that we do. Anyone that calls in is a priority. So what we were hoping you would do is help us answer some questions first, and then we'll be talking a little bit about you and the monster truck.
Not to put you on the spot or anything.
Not putting you on the spot. Okay.
Let's go back to Tim, Aaron.
All right, let's do it. Hello, Tim. Welcome back to the CNC Auto Show.
Hey.
All right, Tim, you were mentioning that you were having some idling concerns on your 5.4 F-150, and you were suspecting maybe the cam phasers. We were beginning to talk about how it, of course, has variable valve timing, and what happens is those phasers, unfortunately, there's two things that can happen. One, the solenoid be restricted and not control the timing properly, or the phasers itself fail. And then there's another issue where the guides wear out, but that's typically a whole nother, down the road type issue. You're right, in fact, that they can cause that problem. However, what I was going to mention was there's a lot of other things that can cause that issue also. That is an electronically controlled idle by electronic throttle blade. And as that throttle blade, of course, operates, it's supposed to operate in a position to where it has no contact with any carbon or anything like that. And what happens a lot on those particular trucks is when carbon builds up on the throttle plate, it can restrict the minimum airflow and cause the engine to idle lower, which in fact, that means it has less oil pressure at that idle, and those phasers are of course oil controlled. So long story short, there's many other things that it could be besides that, of course, expensive cam phaser job. One thing too, had you had the vehicle scanned, are there any trouble codes or anything like that in there?
Occasionally see like an engine light, but it'll usually reset itself. So.
Okay. Yeah, before you went down that road of the cam phasers and everything, it would be very important to find out what code that is. For instance, it could be an idle lower than expected, commanded by PCM, and then of course that would be things along the lines of the carbon buildup and maybe even the idle relearn on that particular truck. So I'm hoping that it's a lot cheaper, mainly because that's more of a maintenance type item, having the throttle body cleaned, induction service, and reset, than it is that phaser job. And again, the low idle will cause a clacking noise because again it's the engine is rotating slower than the ideal situation.
And Tim, I'm gonna mention one quick thing. This is mostly to help others with that. Is that oil? The changing oil maintenance program is critical on those. You most likely do because some of them just give trouble even when you do the maintenance right.
Right.
But if someone wants to see one of these vehicles have less problems with the cam phasers,
mm-hmm.
the keeping on a good oil change program is critical to that, and using the correct weight oil.
Yeah,
is
correct
critical.
weight oil is huge on those.
Yeah, and all that's important.
Right. Hey, I appreciate your help.
All right, thanks, Tim.
We appreciate the phone call, Tim. Thank you. Okay, we will go to John,
okay.
and we will talk to John because he may have an answer to our tech tip quiz.
All right, well, he's on.
And John,
Hey, good
welcome
morning.
to the show.
Thank you very much.
Thank you.
I've got a 1996 F-150
Mm-hmm.
with a straight 6 in it. And I've got dual fuel tanks.
Oh, that's Aaron's favorite system. I swear Aaron designed that system.
Well, one of them, the main tank I run off of, it's very slow to fill. It keeps clicking off the gas pump. I've learned to live with that. But if I flip the switch in the cab to go to the auxiliary tank, it sputters. The engine seems to sputter a lot.
Mm-hmm.
Does it still run, or does it just sputter to the point to where it cuts off?
It just sputters.
Okay. I would be. Of course, there's two different fuel pumps in there. There's the front tank, the rear tank, and the way that system works, it's kind of an odd system, but in theory, it actually works pretty good. All joking aside, it has a switching valve that relies off of the fuel pressure. And say when you switched it for the rear tank comes on, the fuel pump builds pressure, and it turns this little valve system to where it, of course, goes up to the fuel rail. Now you're running off of that one. Aaron, correct me if I'm wrong, but of course those valves have been notorious for basically
we've had a lot of valves, but I would say lately, now it used to be the valves were the biggest thing, but lately it's been the pump itself.
Right.
We found a lot of bad pumps.
That's what I was thinking.
That we
pump
did
might
one,
not just be.
Was it last week? I think it was early last week. Yeah.
Right. I was just thinking maybe it's not creating enough pressure, not only to make the vehicle run, it might not be turning it all the way or something like that too. So.
Yeah, I would say that by far, most likely, you got a bad fuel pump. The way a technician would find that is he or she would check the fuel pressure,
right,
and make sure that you have a full 12 volts and ground going to the pump. And if it's not producing the right amount of pressure, then that's most likely the problem. And whenever we mention fuel pump, we always highly recommend either replacing or checking the fuel filter, because a lot of the pumps burn up because the fuel filter gets restricted, and it's trying to push it through a restricted filter.
And John, it looks like you might have the answer to the tech tip.
I'll take a stab at it.
Okay, here we go.
Put you up on stage. Right, Bo?
Blue took a minute.
Yeah.
Okay. Go ahead, John.
All right, do you want to repeat the question first?
I can. Yeah, I can do that without any problem. And right here, Susan was getting gas and went to the store, and she bought something in the store, and it cost her $1.52, and she installed this herself now. It didn't take her too terribly long, and by the end of this year, it will have saved her at least $100 and probably a lot more than that. And what's the answer?
Well, you just said a keyword, install, so I know I'm wrong, but I'll say she bought a tire pressure gauge.
Oh, wow. I tell you what, now, that's not bad. That is not bad at all. But, oh, man. All right.
Thank you very much.
And thank you. Okay, we did not get to talk to Kevin very much, so during the next break, right after we come back from this break, we will be talking to Kevin Koszala about monster trucks and a lot more, all on the CNC Auto Show. Welcome back to the CNC Auto Show, and we will be going to Richard and the other callers very shortly, but we will be talking to Kevin Koszala for a little bit. And Kevin, welcome to the show.
Thank you.
What do you do, Kevin?
I drive monster trucks.
Monster trucks.
Horrible job, right?
Dream job, right?
Now, here's one thing I got to tell you. Usually, the biggest truck that pulls up here the morning of the show is normally John Ryan's.
No.
You got him beat this morning.
Yep.
Yeah, he pulls up in this huge transfer truck with a cab on the back.
It looks
And
good,
the
too.
truck's not connected to it, but you win the prize now for that, the largest truck to come in.
My
take
little
the
fuel
cake.
economy car.
Yeah.
Grocery getter.
Yeah.
All right. Now, the first thing I want to ask you is, how did you get into driving monster trucks?
It was just, like I said, the wrong place at the wrong time. I've been doing, 28 years ago, I was mud bogging, and I paid $35 for a trophy, an entry fee, and to win a trophy.
Yeah.
And then I was standing there waiting to do my deal, and there was a monster truck there, and started talking to him, and found out that he got paid to be there. So, it doesn't take a rocket science to figure that one out. And
Nope.
went back and built my first monster truck, and 28 years later, here I am.
That's awesome.
All right. Well, the as far as the monster trucks, what's it like traveling around the country? Because I was looking at the tour, and you will be on the Traxxas Monster Truck Destruction Tour, which, if I'm not mistaken, I've seen just a whole list of different cities all over the country.
Yeah.
That they'll be at. I think I forgot where the one. There was one in California, Bakersville, California, and just all over the country. And what's it like traveling around like that with the truck and doing the things that you do?
It's an experience. I mean, let me tell you. I mean, I've been everywhere. I mean, all the United States, been east to west to Canada, went to Israel, Poland. I mean, we've been all over the place, and it's just a great experience. I mean, it's things that you never get to do in a normal job. So I guess it's not that bad.
What's the expression on the faces of someone like in Poland or Israel or something like that when they see one of these trucks like that?
Israel was an experience because we were the very first monster trucks ever to go to Israel. Wow. And when we fired them up and pulled them out, I mean, it was amazing to see the looks on people's faces because they never seen nothing like that.
Uh-huh. And getting the trucks over there, of course, how were they? What type method did they use?
They just drove them, man. What do you mean?
The tires do float, so just put them in sea containers and just ship them over there.
Okay. Fantastic. Well, that sounds good. On one of those trucks, how much horsepower does a truck like that have?
Today's trucks, I mean, they range from anywhere from 1,500 to 2,200 horsepower.
John Ryan, I think that one's got yours beat a little
bit.
It.
It took cake.
Not by much. John Ryan, you are the truck man. What's that, I'm gonna let you ask a few questions.
Kevin, tell us what kind of engines these are. Obviously, they're not just a 350 with a carburetor on them.
They're
what's kind of a common engine?
They're blown and injected in alcohol, and most of them are either Ford or Chevy.
Okay.
And they're not much stock parts in these trucks anymore.
Right. And as far as how many passes would you get out of an engine, or do they last a few years, or how long longevity wise?
That's one of them questions like anything else. I mean, it can last one pass and then you're putting a new motor in, or you can go 5 years.
Right.
You try to do normal maintenance on the motors once a year to keep them in tune.
Now that was a question that I had. What type of maintenance do they do as far as preventative maintenance to keep things from breaking?
They rebuild it every time.
Yeah, pretty much.
A lot of rebuilds.
I mean, after every show, you're nut and bolting every single nut and bolt on the truck, and I mean, you always find something wrong. You'll find bent bars, or something's going to be wrong with the truck, and you just have to keep an eye on it after every show.
Right. As far as, of course, typically they're rear-mounted engines, correct?
Correct.
And they're turned the opposite direction of forward, I guess you would say. So they're backwards, and then how does the power come out the back of that? Obviously a transmission and some sort of transfer case?
Well, we had that question. I had that question once, and like I said, there's no such thing as a stupid question, but I answered it by saying, you know how you have the R and the D on your shifter?
Right.
You just turn those around.
Okay, fair enough.
The truck is fine. No, it's all done through a transfer case.
Right.
The end of the transmission goes in the transfer case, and the transfer case is gear to gear, so there's an extra gear in the transfer case.
Okay, and that's what switches directions. Okay, cool. And then differential-wise, obviously it's not a typical 10-bolt Chevrolet rear end or nothing. What kind of axles?
No, most of them are Rockwells.
Okay.
620s or 680s is what people are running. They come out of school buses or buses.
Okay.
And we were back in the day using Rockwell 5-ton top loaders or stuff like that. But now pretty much everything is fabricated.
Right.
We're using our own fabricated housings, making axle shafts, and then they're flanged to. Most people use 20-ton petty or Clarks, like out of 4-wheel forklifts.
Okay. Yeah. Mm-hmm. Wow.
Okay, what we will do, we will go ahead and talk to Richard a little bit.
Okay.
And then that way we also want to let people know that if they have a question about a monster truck, they can still call in. Now, also, we're taking the automotive questions. You can still call with an automotive question. And like we mentioned, you can call with an airplane question. You can call with a ATV question. Today is open lines.
That's
anything that you want to talk about, as long as it runs. As long as you can put gas in it and make it run, we will talk about it today. And that number, 706-863-5800. Give us a call. And John Ryan, let's go to Richard?
Yeah, let's go straight to him.
Hello, Richard, and welcome to the CNC Auto Show.
Good morning. How are you?
Man, we are doing just right. I can't stand it. It's so good.
I understand.
All right. We're ready for you.
My question, and it's not real technical, but it's just absolutely baffling myself and a couple other guys that's looked at it. I have an 11 Flex, and when I get up to about 65 miles an hour, I get this awful fluttering, buzzing noise that seems to be coming from under the hood. I've tried to isolate everything that wind could catch and cause it to flow through and cause the buzzing, and it only starts at about 65 miles an hour.
Richard, have you had any type of change in medication over the last?
All right, now you're getting personal. Oh my gosh,
Richard, you have a Walmart. Richard, you have a Walmart bag dragging from one of the suspension components.
Gotta be. Yeah. No, wait a minute. I bet it's a Target.
Probably.
Yeah, it's one of the two. I mean, there's no question.
Richard, tell us a little bit more about the noise. Is this something that's just all of a sudden popped up, or any rhyme or reason for it, or anything like that?
No, I mean it's been doing it for several months, several thousand miles. I've opened the hood. I've looked at anything that could, catch air,
right,
cause it to flutter. Even the molding that goes around the cowl up through there.
Right.
Just
what about underneath,
anything.
like, for instance, around the front bumper where there's, like, the splash shields and the inner fenders? A lot of times those will look perfectly intact, and one clip may be missing, and it's just enough to catch air at, say, 65 miles an hour, and it'll just start to catch air, and as soon as it catches air, it kind of reverberates and everything, takes over from there. So we see a lot of cars with some splash shields, whether, you pulled too far up in a parking spot and one of the clips broke, from contacting the little yellow, whatever that thing is, parking stopper. And, we see a lot of those kind of things.
Richard, we might be able to pay John Ryan to sit on the hood or hang on to the hood.
Yeah.
At that speed with a stethoscope.
The fastest I've been on a creeper was like 40.
Well, that's a possibility. You never know.
Yeah.
I lean toward this. The splash shield was really good.
Yeah.
What you think, Kevin? Any ideas?
He says rip the fenders off of it, put some tires on
bigger
it.
tires on there, you'll never hear it.
Yeah.
Drive 62 miles an hour.
Yeah, Kevin's used to these big trucks, so that's not really that much.
Go
of an
faster or slower.
Yeah, either one. But I would say that the next time that vehicle is up on the rack,
right,
I would look very closely at it.
And Richard, we've done crazy things too. I mean, I've taped my iPhone to a transmission pan to monitor, hit record and see if the suspension's, moving and all kinds of stuff. So there's definitely ways of finding it. But I still kind of lean towards a splash shield of some sort.
And another thing that I do, like on some vehicles, this is actually wouldn't pertain to this one, but on some vehicles, like if I suspect the windshield or a window or some type of molding, I'll get some tape that won't mess the paint up when you pull it off, usually body tape, and I'll put a little tape on that area, and I found a lot of wind noises like that by putting it over there. Mm-hmm.
Well, we'll keep trying, and I appreciate your expertise and appreciate your show also.
Richard, I feel like we failed you.
Well, I tell you what I'll do. I'll give you an update. I'll run by one of your stores one day and just say, hey, we've isolated it, and here it was, and you led me to the right direction.
Unless it's good, if it's real good, and you say that, you can call back in and tell us that.
But if we didn't help you, just
if we didn't help you, come out of shop and tell us. Call us over to the side and say we need to talk. Okay.
I got you.
We appreciate
you,
Richard.
Good deal.
All right, bye-bye. Okay, it is. I can't believe how quick the show's going. I mean, going quick, big time. Time for another break. We'll be back, and we have Kevin with us, who drives monster trucks. He'll be helping us answer questions for Deborah and David. We'll be back. And welcome back to the CNC Auto Show. We have Kevin here, who drives the Tarantula monster truck, and they are on the Monster Truck Tour, which will actually be in the Augusta area. That'll be January 27th, 28th. And he is here with us now, and he'll be helping us answer questions that we have. Yeah. John Ryan, who will we be talking to first?
Aaron, looks like up next is Deborah.
Fantastic. Hey, Deborah.
Hello.
Somebody told me that you had a Nissan Altima that revs up during the stop.
That's right.
If you can read, you can lead.
Apparently. I heard right then. I read that on Facebook. I'm cutting up, Deborah. What's it doing to you?
Okay, I'm the second owner of it. My sister bought it brand new, and she never had a problem with it, and she's always taken excellent care of it, and so have I. And on occasion, whenever I come to a stop, it's always when I'm coming to a stop. It's never when the car is in motion. But the car's engine would rev it up. I mean, like, it wants me to release the brake and let it cut loose and either crash into what's in front of it or jump the car in front of it, and it's very dangerous, and it terrifies me to drive the thing.
Yeah.
And I keep the brake floored and if I didn't have the brake forward, I'd be, my car would kill somebody in front of it.
You got the adrenaline rushing option on that car.
First thing I do is take it back to my sister and tell her it's under warranty. No, Deborah, those Altimas, they have an electronic throttle. Years ago, of course, from your foot, you would have a mechanical cable that would, of course, open up a throttle body or a throttle plate and allow the air to enter the engine. The Altimas and practically just about any car these days has electronic throttle control. And what can happen is the computer can see different things. There's a lot of data coming into the computer, and it determines whether or not it should be at idle or if it should be revved up or all kinds of things. So there's a possibility it's seeing something it doesn't like, whether it be, it's not recognizing that it should be on what they call their idle circuit, which is when the vehicle controls the idle all electronically. And there's also an idle air control valve on that particular one. It's almost a system. In 2000, they kind of changed it to two systems. It went electronic throttle, and it still had a idle air control valve. Well, those idle air control valves, just like any part of the intake system of the car, can actually get a lot of carbon buildup in it. And what happens is that valve can stick, say, full open, which might be 2,000 RPMs. And like you said, it just wants to power through that stop as if you were never letting off the gas pedal. So, a technician would definitely put a scan tool in there, look at all the data stream, and data stream is basically, the information from all the sensors that the car has. And a lot of times you'll pick something out of there that it might say idle percentage 50% duty cycle. And, of course, it should be a lot less than that while you're at idle. So a technician would use all that information to diagnose the problem. And then from there, he would actually go out and check the components. For instance, if it was an idle air control valve, he may remove it or she may remove it and actually actuate it with the scan tool and see if it physically opens and closes. For instance, if they close it and it stays open, that part would, of course, there's a lot of electrical checks, but you would assume that that's bad. So I think you would benefit definitely from some diagnostics on that car, because that is a serious problem, because of course, potentially it may not stop as easy as, of course, one that would, be remained at idle. So I definitely would urge you to get some diagnostics run on that one.
And I do lean a little bit toward the gummy idle air control, because there's a lot of precautions built into that electronic throttle
right,
to where they're not supposed to stick. Now, I still wonder in some cases if they did, because of course some car manufacturers said, hey, the throttle's stuck and it was the floor mat, wink wink.
Yeah. Do you buy that?
The problem. Yeah.
But Deborah, too, like this
this
repair is, like Aaron mentioned, right now relatively inexpensive. But when you start adding a bumper and a grill and a hood and two headlights,
you're talking totally different scenario. Not to mention your insurance is going to go up.
Right.
So Deborah, definitely I would recommend diagnostics very quickly on that, as a matter of fact, and get it done. And whatever you get done, though, I believe I would also say if it needs an idle air control, I would recommend getting a BG induction service at the same time, and that's a chemical that goes through and cleans a lot of that carbon out.
Right.
I just have that gut feeling that that's where your problem is beginning, with just carbon buildup inside there.
Okay, thank you very much.
Deborah, thank you. Great question, and we appreciate it. Okay, John Ryan, where are we going?
We're going to go over to David, Aaron.
Hey, this is a truck. Kevin will be able to help us with this now.
Yeah.
It's a Dodge.
Yes.
David, what's going on with your Ram?
I've got a misfire code 0 PO 300.
Yeah, misfire code?
306. Yeah.
A PO 300.
And what was the rest of it?
All the way. It misfires on every cylinder.
Oh, does the engine actually run rough, or how's it running?
Yeah.
Okay. And you mentioned
rough.
it had a specific misfire code, like a P03, what?
It's got a P0300.
Then that's the only trouble code in there?
P01, a P02, a P03,
Okay.
P004.
Whoa.
You're going to get to 8 soon.
Yeah.
It's only a 6-cylinder.
Okay.
Do you have any cylinders that are actually firing, Dave?
No.
David, 96 Dodge Ram, there's quite a few things that can cause misfires on all cylinders on that particular truck, especially the V6 model. They use the same distributor in the V8s. What happens a lot of times, Aaron, you can actually picture this. I know you can.
I'm going to do it.
So this distributor has a pickup, and basically what happens is the pickup only marks number one cylinder. And when that, window, so to speak, comes around the cam sensor, it basically times when the firing order should be. And what happens is a lot of times it's called electrical noise can be picked up in the distributor, and it doesn't know exactly where number one is. So it's still going to fire. It's still going to have base timing and all that, but it can actually cause the rest of the cylinders, according to the firing order, to not fire exactly at the right time. So that's one instance. Aside from obviously your normal maintenance stuff, those spark plugs are unfortunately only a 30,000 mile spark plug, which is really unheard of now. I mean, 90% of them are at least 100,000. So, there's things like plug wires and cap, rotor, distributor, but I'm sure you've already replaced all that.
But if you hadn't, David, what I would recommend in this case, now, a lot of times we recommend that you may need some diagnostics. Let's say that you got a lot of misfire codes and you have things like wires and plugs and these maintenance items that hadn't been done, induction services and things like that. Then instead of getting a diagnostics, those items would need to be done anyway.
Right.
So a lot of times I might recommend going ahead and doing the things that it needs. And if that solves your problem, then you may not need the diagnostics on there. If it don't solve your problem, then you're that much more ahead, and the problem may be easier for a technician to find if all the normal maintenance has been performed.
And that's a good tip, too, because a lot of times a technician has to do just that. He has to diagnose it in stages. Hey, we know these plug wires are bad. We need to do this, that kind of thing.
Yeah, and a technician don't want to take whatever it is to diagnose $100 around that range and have to tell you that you need a tune-up.
Yeah.
That wouldn't be good. So
right.
You want to have your maintenance items done and then move into that. And that goes the same for things like diagnostics on a lot of other items on there. Hey, we're just about out of time, David. Great question, and thank you very much.
Yeah.
All right. We want to get a chance to say thank you for Kevin being here.
Yeah, thanks,
And
Tim.
Kevin, I'm going to ask you something. Could you join us for another hour soon? Is there
Sure.
Oh, fantastic. I was hoping that you might do that because I've enjoyed you
being
here.
we want to learn a lot more about it.
Yeah, we have. And I also wanted to get a chance to mention that if you get the opportunity to go to one of the Traxxas Monster Truck Destruction Tour events, it is a good idea to do that because it's a lot of fun. A lot of times you can see things like that on television, but man, when you're sitting in the arena and actually or in the pits,
the power.
Yeah, you can feel the vibration coming from the engine, and you can kind of have the smell of the alcohol, and that makes a difference.
And if you got enough money, they'll let you drive one.
Yeah, and you can drive it around the block, things like that. But it's just so much. It's so much fun to be at something like that. So go a step further than watching things like that on television, and go ahead and go to see an event like that, and you'll really enjoy it and have a good time. We are just about out of time. Speaking of time. And the time clock's on E. We need to pull over for now, but we'll be back on the road in no time. I'm Aaron Clements with co-host John Ryan Mooney. And our show producers are Zach Llewellyn, Bo Roberts, Dominic Frito, better known as Cowboy, and Sandy Klein. And we would all like to say thank you to all you that tuned in, logged in, and especially all of you that called in to ride with on the CNC Auto Show. And you wait right here because we'll stop back by to pick you up with a new show very soon.